Hey, Dr. Otto Janke here with the Empire Longevity Podcast. Thanks for being with us on this one. I think it's fantastic because we get to speak with one of my friends, a mentor of mine and a business associate, Dr. Shawn Dill. And what's unique about this is we ask not some easy questions, but we ask him questions and he's just really straightforward, boom, answer the questions. And it's unique to find out how people who are successful, not only how they are successful, but what they've done to overcome previous failures. And he's very open and honest about his. It's fantastic stuff. So stay tuned for that. I think you're gonna really enjoy this one. We have other podcasts coming up, some really, really neat ones also. I think you're gonna enjoy those. And again, we're in the preliminary stages of putting together the 2021 Empire Longevity Symposium. If you're around for the last one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We make it diverse and just neat stuff. Hang on for that. We'll give you more information about that along the way. But stay tuned for Dr. Shawn Dill on the Empire Longevity Podcast. We're glad you're with us. Hi, I'm Dr. Otto Janke. Welcome to the Empire Longevity Podcast. Our very first business podcast we did was on a company that I freaking love. I love their product a lot too, but I was amazed by their business model, and that was Guinness. Absolutely love Guinness. This one, our second business podcast is with a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, and a business associate, Dr. Shawn Dill. Dr. Shawn Dill, glad to have you with us today on the Empire Longevity Podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. Super excited. You know that Empire Longevity is something near and dear to my heart. Can't wait for the normalcy. Everybody's talking about the new normal. I can't wait for normalcy to return. We've got big plans and things that we want to see happen with the entire project of longevity for people all over the globe.
Really, it's what a fundamental aspect of us being here is longevity. First of all, I'm going to get this. We need to talk about this. I read a ton of books on a regular basis for all our listeners. I'm going to recommend that you put this one on the shelf, None of Your Business, by Dr. Dill and Dr. Book. We'll talk about Dr. Book. Hey, by the way, do you know there are 2 different copies of this?
Yes, I do.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Let's start off with this. One of my favorite quotes that you have is that have a conviction stronger than your desire to please. Where'd that come from, and how's that made opportunities for you, and how'd you push through all that?
Well, it came from a signature story in speaking. So when you speak, you should have a signature story, and the signature story was really based off of Rosa Parks. And I started to look at a lot of figures in history, and one of the things that I realized is that history only remembers those who have a conviction stronger than their desire to please. I mean, you could just name anybody. And look, I got to tell you this too. It's also on the bad side. It's on the wrong side of history. But these people also had convictions. So if you want to make a mark, then you have to have a conviction stronger than your desire to please. If you are just a people pleaser, statistically, you're just going to be the status quo, the average. You're just going along. You're doing what everybody wants you to do. Right. And boy, in these times, right, isn't that something that's a big challenge? But the people that have convictions, that believe in something and are willing to actually go against the grain for that conviction, they're the ones that actually shape and leave their mark on history.
You talk about in your group, you have a fantastic group which I'm not going to promote a whole bunch of things, but there's a couple of things I am going to promote today. One is getting that book. The other one is becoming a member of the Black Diamond Club, which I've been a member for, I think, 4 years or so. And it's a group that's of like-minded people, of a diverse amount of thinking that have come together into the cohesion of business. And one of the great things that you have talked about for a long time, which I've loved, is that you're not someone who goes for the shiny thing right now, but you're in business for the long game. How did that come about? And that is so counterintuitive to what we're doing today, especially in today's market and business mindsets.
Well, first of all, the 2 recommendations you gave go hand in hand. So if you go to Amazon.com and get the book, None of Your Business, somewhere towards the end, there is a link where you can actually join Black Diamond Club for free for 90 days. And so all you got to do is go to Amazon, get the book. Then once you get the book, flip to the back before you read it, find that link, get yourself signed up. We'd love to have you. We'll make you feel right at home.
Great family.
I'm sorry?
Great family there. Great family.
Yeah. In the long game idea, I mean, look, I've played the short game. And I think that honestly, one of the strange stories, and I don't know that very many people know this, is that I lived in Costa Rica for a very long time, and I lived in one of the wealthier neighborhoods towards the end of my career there. It was a gated community, and all of my neighbors were online bookies. You know, at that time, Costa Rica was the home to internet sports gambling, right? So they were all online bookies. And so I have experience in the online gambling world in the sense that my neighbors, like, you know, I would go and we would hang out, I would watch them, I would see how they would, set the lines and the things that they would do. And I realized one of my friends told me, Shawn, if you get the closing line, you can never win. And I was like, wow, like, so really in online sports betting, the bookies were afraid of the people, the sharp gamblers. They were betting in the beginning. They had done their research, and that means that it was a long play. That means that they were betting, future bets. And I was like, wow. And he told me, you can never win. If you're always betting the closing line, you will never win. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. And so kind of transferring that over into business, I feel it's the same way. That's the shiny object. You're with your friends. Somebody's saying, oh my gosh, Tesla stock is up. And you're like, oh, well, I'm going to buy Tesla. Well, you're getting the closing line. You're getting it after, right? The reason why they're celebrating is because they bought it years ago, and they're recounting their experience over time. The same thing with everything in business, in my opinion. Relationships are never the best if, you got the closing line. If you just met somebody, at the bar last night, that's not a strong relationship. You need to be playing a long game over time. Business marketing strategies, business sales strategies are better played out over the long game. The long game traditionally plays out very well. In fact, right now too, on the day that we're recording this, a lot of people are worried about the stock market, for example. And I was listening to a particular financial advisor that was saying, look, here's the key. Just don't panic. Just know that over time, you have a winner. You have a winning hand. The stock market over time is going to produce for you. Here's when you get in trouble when you play the short game. When you're like, day trading is hard. When you're selling off. But if you're like, I put my money in, it's fine. I'm going to come back to it in 5-10 years. The odds are greatly in your favor that you're going to come out way ahead versus if you were buying and selling all along that time.
Right. Awesome. So let's talk about that one word you used there was panic. We've had shutdowns left and right. At beginning of this year, we had about 30 million small businesses in America. What are the steps, the mindsets, the tactics or strategies, even just one or two of them they can take from this, that they can start getting the cohesion of business now in the last quarter of 2020 and back into 2021, back into the game? What are some steps they can do?
I was just at Costco about an hour ago, and I was noticing they had this big display, and on the display, it was this entire huge Costco display, and it had a multitude of PPE. They had the glass mask things, the mask that you could wear, like a mask kit that had hand sanitizer in it, thin mask, heavy mask. And I was thinking to myself, like, either this is here to stay, and so this is a smart move, like human beings are always going to wear masks, or, oh my gosh, I was looking at the display, I was like, how many people out there are in the mask game? And potentially in 3 to 6 months, hopefully in my mind, there's no demand for that anymore.
Right.
So inside of what should we be doing? Number one, we need to really evaluate your offering. Like, does your offering have longevity, or are you, and again, that's a great example. I have friends that made millions selling masks, and that's being an opportunist, and nothing wrong with that, but it's not a long game. It's not going to last forever. And so question number one for everybody is my product or service, does my product or service have longevity? right? So the longevity theme. If it's just temporary, you might want to reconsider, and this would be a great time to transition and shift, especially if you're in a lull, you're a down point, get into some business that has longevity. Listen, dentists are going to be fine. Doctors are going to be fine. Gyms, as much as they were battered, they're going to be fine. Restaurants are going to be fine. Grocery stores are going to be fine, right? Cosmetic surgery, maybe not so much. Maybe in difficult times, most people or a lot of people stop looking at that as an option. Luxury cars. And really, when I say luxury, I mean middle range. The high-end luxury will always be fine as well. But one, see if you have longevity. Two, invest in strategies that also are long-term. Or do you ask yourself, do your strategies have longevity? Facebook ads, and people know this. And look, I'm involved in companies that I have equity in that do digital marketing. But this is a constantly changing game. So if you're like, oh, I'm going to jump into Facebook ads and make $1 million, well, that doesn't have longevity. If your business is built entirely on Facebook ads, and believe me, like I said, I have businesses. I hope you're buying Facebook ads. I hope you're getting agency services from companies like ours, but that's not a long-term strategy, right? And you want a mix of short-term and long-term strategies, but this is the moment for you to reevaluate your strategies and make sure that you are betting big on the futures. Why? Because too, everybody knows right now that this is a time when a lot of people are panicking. This is a time of uncertainty. So in a time of uncertainty, I want to have future bets rather than, picking games that are right here, 50-50 coin flips. And frankly, look, a lot of what's going on out in the world is more based off of a coin flip. Rather than speculating, pick something that's going to have a lot of stability long-term, strategies like that. And I'll tell you the number one investment strategy that will always pay out is investing in human beings, right? So investing in relational capital right now, that's the best play, because relational capital, honestly, too, doesn't cost you anything. It's just you pouring into somebody, investing into the person, into the relationship. And look, frankly, for a lot of people like me, there's a lot of people that are calling me. You don't even have to do a whole heck of a lot to make sure that investment is there. I mean, I don't require you to text me every day, message me, call me. I mean, just that one touch point, and I'm happy, I'm good. So yeah, and investing in human capital probably is the surest bet that I could give you right now.
So define that a little bit better. What do you mean by by relationship and the human capital? What's something we can do, and how easy is that to do?
Well, one of the things that we've been thinking about strongly is actually writing a second book. And the second book title would either be OPM or OPC, other people's money or other people's capital. But the basis of the book is creating partnerships and collaborations based on relational capital versus acquiring equity because of fundraising, putting money in. And I think you're going to see this a lot. In a time when the economy appears to be potentially shrinking, the relational capital is going to be what plays. And so let's say that you have influence, certain people, maybe your Rolodex is deep, or you have strong connections to certain people, and those connections can be leveraged to help a particular business grow. For example, I'll give you an example. A lot of our clients, and I know that you've done this as well, did a benevolence campaign where during this difficult time, we had asked a lot of our clients to go out and really put their community, the small business community, on their backs, and to help as many people as possible by opening up a $100 tab at a coffee shop, at a sandwich store, smoothie shop, and inviting the community to come in and take advantage of the tab, knowing full well that most people will also buy additional stuff, right? So they'll come in, they'll buy, and that would help the business. Now what I'm doing is, after we've done that, and for my clients who have been very regular in doing that, and the community now knows and sees that client of mine as a benevolent benefactor to the community, we are still seeing, even in spite of that effort, that there's businesses that are closing. But for example, I've been asking some of my clients to identify those struggling businesses and go to them, and especially ones, and this is really unique. I frankly haven't seen this in mass like I have with the current situation. We have announced closings. Like, I am going to close my doors at the end of October, for example. People would say that. And I'm like, wow. And my only thought on that is that they probably have a lease and they've managed to negotiate themselves out of the lease, and they might as well stay there versus close. They're going to stay through the end of the month. So my clients are going into those businesses and asking them, hey, what's going on? Are you closing up because you ran out of money, which is happening a lot? That's the prevailing answer. Or are you closing up because you're sick of doing this? And if they're closing up because they just didn't have the money, they didn't have the cash flow, my clients are asking them if they can make an attempt, make a run at saving them. And what we're doing is we're leveraging our relational capital. So we're taking our clients' influence and we're going out and we're asking people to make an all-out, last-ditch effort to save the coffee shop. Now, from a business standpoint too, and this might irritate some people, but I do think it's fair, is my clients are telling the coffee shop, so you're going to close at the end of October. Can I try and save it? If I do manage to save it and you are open on November 1st, I would like 10% equity, right? Because you were going to close anyways. And it doesn't cost me anything. I just go out and I rally because I have influence, because I'm a leader, and people will come in. And all we need is people to start going to the coffee shop, people to start buying 3 coffees, buy more than you normally would, because we just need you to help. And I think that the community mindset too, in the heart and soul of a community, if you have relational capital and you're doing this from a place of authenticity, is we want to save our small businesses. And so that's what I mean. If you have the ability, you can do so much with relational capital. You could you could make phone calls. You can ask your friends to support. You can ask your friends to post on social media. You could, influence maybe political figures to come into the coffee shop. There's so much that you could do today just with your telephone or with social media that has massive power, and in fact has bigger power than just throwing money at it.
Right. Absolutely. The awareness that comes along with that, more people get the boots in the door. Absolutely. We did something unique because I'm a BDC member. We went to a local company, t-shirt company, designed a t-shirt, sold the t-shirt, took the proceeds from that, went to different companies. Love that. Was so simple to do. Let's switch things up a little bit. How cool is it that you get to work with your wife?
That's super cool. This morning we woke up, went to the store together, cooked lunch together, did some work. I mean, it's the best. A lot of people always think it's weird, like, oh my gosh, you guys work together. But then I always think when people say that, like, what kind of relationship do you have? Like, who wouldn't want to like hang out with your best friend all day long and make money and help people? Like, fantastic.
Where did your business mindset come from? Because first of all, is it, were you born with it? Did you learn it? What tree did you fall out of? Where'd that come from?
Losing is the best way to learn anything. Although, mentors, coaches like myself would say you should leverage other people's experience so that you don't have to experience the same thing. Right. But when you ask where mine came from, being dead, absolutely broke after 1 year in business, learning from the school of hard knocks, dead broke, and then building it all up. And I think this is a common trait amongst successful people, and then losing it all again and being dead broke again a second time, now 8 years after I had started my business, and then building it all back again for a second time. And look, maybe I'm hard-headed, but I really don't plan on making the same mistakes a third time, right? But I think, I think that's one of the things. I think that sharing your mistakes, I find that in my teaching, in the book, those are people's favorite parts, is when we lost. Because anybody could win, but it takes a really special person to get knocked down and then get back up, and then get knocked down again, and then get back up. And not only that, but to learn from those lessons. So where does it come from? I just don't every day, I don't have any problem getting motivated, because I don't want to go back to eating beans and rice again. Right.
Someone asked me, I'm 28 years in practice. How'd you get here? And I said, because I've died a couple of times in practice, and that's how I got here. And they said, well, how are you willing to do this? I said, because I did it bad there was a 10-year time frame in my practice where I was actually just terrible in practice. Who are your mentors now? Who do you learn from?
Jay Abraham, Dave Meltzer. And then a whole host of people that I think are super cool. And this is interesting over time because of an understanding in relational capital. Now mentors are friends. You know, people like Chris Winfield, Jen Gottlieb, Matthew Kimberly, Justin Chinapan, you know, all of those people are friends. And of course, then a lot of them I work with. I learn a lot from Tristan Schaub, you know, my wife, Lacey, people that are on the team, Frank Jew, Travis Lucero. I mean, these are all super smart people. And then of course, on the social media side, you got Dennis Yu and Tristan Parmley. I think that also too, you know, if I'm going to admit a secret is I'm not the brightest person on the planet. But one thing bright that I've done is I've surrounded myself with incredible people who, one, are super smart, and two, also are invested enough in me that they refuse to let us lose.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. That's a unique option right there. First of all, today's your birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
What and the big thing we want to know is cake on the agenda today?
No, and you know what? I'm a weirdo with stuff like that. I don't eat turkey on Thanksgiving. I eat prime rib. I don't love cake. I love milkshakes. Not sure if I'll even have a milkshake today, but if I were having a birthday dessert, it would definitely be a milkshake, not cake. I don't eat a lot of cake.
You ever been to Whitey's in Davenport?
Oh, of course. Yeah. If it's ice cream, I know about it.
Whitey's is a small place in Davenport, Iowa. They make bizarrely great stuff. Dr. Shawn Dill, our last comment from you is that all of our guests we have on the podcast, we want to have you understand that longevity in Empire Longevity is the act and intent of being so healthy that you leave something great behind. What's the one thing or one couple of things you're going to leave that are great behind?
Well, before I jump into that, I just, my thought process on that is this, is that you cannot give what you do not have. That's why the Empire Longevity as a project is so important, because so many people, so today we're talking business. So, you know, so many people feel like they've taken on poverty or poverty complex as like a burden, but the easiest path to you helping other people be rich is to be rich yourself, right? You can't give what you don't have. There's no amount of poverty that you can acquire that will make somebody else rich. But the same thing then applies to health, right? Because if you are acquiring riches or abundance economically, financial abundance in sacrifice of your health, well, that doesn't work either. And there's so many people that are like, well, I'm sick because I've like taken on this burden. You know, I'm sick because I had to work for my family. Well, what good is that? Right? Because there's no amount of sickness that you can take on that will make somebody else healthy. The best way for you to promote and propagate health, just like what Otto does, is to be healthy yourself, right? To make smart choices with your finances and with your health. And look, the same thing with love, you know, love and hate. You know, the best way to propagate love is to love. You can't hate to resolve the love crisis in the world. And so I think that it's all of these things all at the same time that you cannot separate. When we talk longevity, we're talking life. And so interestingly, I think that one of the best things that you could do to create longevity for your financial health is to worry about your physical health. Because you are no good. You're absolutely no good if you're stuck in bed, or you can't eat, or you're lethargic, or you don't have the right energy. And so if you want to make an impact, here's what I say is that you must place your health first as a priority. And so many people are putting someone else first. But I always teach in business, the world revolves around you. If you're listening to this podcast, the world revolves around you, not me, not Otto. It revolves around you. Because if you are not at your absolute best, look at all of the people that end up suffering as a result of that. So as an impact, I would say to everybody, start placing yourself first, because the world absolutely does depend on your ability to serve, your ability to show up, your ability to produce, to be a father, a mother, all of those things. And none of them can happen if you do not have your health.
Absolutely. Man, that was deep. That was a heavy one right there. Absolutely love that. Dr. Shawn Dill, for our friends out there, highly recommend Amazon. Get down there right now. None of your business. You will inhale that book in a short period of time. I recommend that you have a pencil and a piece of paper with you because you're going to be taking tons of notes. I actually have 2 copies with me right now, one that I do my notes in and one that I always keep as a reference anyways. Dr. Shawn Dill, appreciate your time, your expertise, and your love. Keep your light shining, please, because it helps show the way for others.
Dr. Otto Janke, thank you so much.
Thank you, Shawn.